Ladies and gentlemen, feds and degenerates, cuckolds of all ages, it's time once again for Mild's Culture Plate. I am your host, Mild Kevin Miles, and it is Saturday, December 7th, 2024, locked in 5 p.m. And yeah, we've got a whole week's worth of news and wrap up to go. And as usual, I'm not as well prepared as I could be. Um, I've had quite the day, but I do have everything bookmarked. I do have Google News up. We will be kind of surfing things together, and I'm going to start. I'm going to start by first giving a shout out. We got Sanglant86 in the chat over on Rumble. Cheers and welcome. No whiskey today. Drinking a little bit of water. Got a little date night with the lady later. And Demon's Wrath, cheers to you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome. It has been quite the week. I hope everyone has had a wonderful holiday season so far. Let's get into the news. So earlier this week, the House COVID Committee had released its report, and what was in it was quite interesting. Let's go ahead and show this. So, dear colleagues, it's been my pleasure to lead the Select Subcommittee on Coronavirus Pandemic for the 118th Congress. 5 years ago, on December 1st, 2019, what would eventually be the first confirmed case of COVID-19. After that, a pandemic devastated the world at nearly never before seen proportions, leaving millions dead and millions more concerned about long-term consequences. COVID-19 was novel. Brightest scientists and experts were learning on the job how to treat both the underlying disease and the second-order side effects. Since February 2023, the Select Subcommittee sought to produce a full after-action report to provide a roadmap of how we in Congress, the executive, and the private sector may better prepare for and respond to future pandemics. Throughout this process, the Select Subcommittee sent more than 100 investigative letters, conducted 38 transcribed interviews or depositions, held 25 hearings or meetings, and reviewed more than 1 million pages of documents from dozens of custodians. This work looks back on many events, comments, guidances, and other actions to look forward to. This is the single most thorough review of the pandemic conducted to date. Most of you know me. You know I strive to work collegially with our fellow Americans to provide results for all of us. This is the same mentality I brought to my work as chairman of the Select Subcommittee during a time of intense partisanship. The subcommittee had bipartisan consensus across multiple topics. Now here we go. Here's their findings. 1, the possibility that COVID-19 emerged because of, I don't know if this can be said on YouTube still, but this is their claim, not mine. So I'll just start it with that. Sango says they were also drunkenly leaning on the job. Yeah. Yeah, most of them were, or dancing on TikTok. So the possibility of COVID-19 emerged because they believe a laboratory or research-related accident is not a conspiracy theory. Number 2, EcoHealth Alliance Incorporated and Dr. Peter Daszak should never again receive U.S. taxpayer dollars. Number 3, scientific messaging must be clear and concise, backed by evidentiary support, and come from trusted messengers, such as frontline doctors treating patients. Number 4, public health officials must work to regain Americans' trust. Americans want to be educated, not indoctrinated. Okay, I'm going to stop right there for just a moment because I want to point out number 2 here. EcoHealth Alliance and Dr. Peter Daszak should never again receive U.S. taxpayer dollars. Since this has been released, Dr. Peter Daszak has had a few media appearances where he has now called on laws. He has said there should be laws now to prevent people from speaking, to prevent scientists from being criticized. Now, this report, I'm going to go ahead and share this here. This is the PDF of the report. You're just seeing the first couple pages here. But the full report is 600 pages. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on, where they lay it out very clearly. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue the document here. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo participated in medical malpractice and publicly covered up the total number of nursing home fatalities in New York. In addition to these notable bipartisan successes, the subcommittee developed extensive findings, some which include US NIH funded gain of research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Number two, the Chinese government and agencies within the US government and some members of the international scientific community sought to cover up facts concerning the origins of the pandemic. Number three, Operation Warp Speed was a tremendous success and a model to build upon in the future. The vaccines, which are now probably better characterized as therapeutics, undoubtedly saved millions of lives by diminishing the likelihood of severe disease and death. Well, I think that's still yet to be seen personally, but consult your physician, folks. Rampant fraud, waste, and abuse plagued the COVID-19 pandemic response. Number five, pandemic era school closures will have an enduring impact on generations of America's children, and these closures were enabled by groups meant to serve those children. Number six, the Constitution cannot be suspended in times of crisis, and restrictions on freedom sow distrust in public health. Number seven, the prescription cannot be worse than the disease, such as strict and overly broad lockdowns that led to predictable anguish and avoidable consequences. And then, you know, distrust in leadership, trust is earned, accountability, transparency, honesty, blah, blah, blah. Brad Winstrup, chairman. So here you go. Our government basically admitting that everything our government did to try to stop the pandemic was futile and probably worse than the disease. And all the ways in which the conspiracy theorists were censored for saying things like gain of function research was the problem, was a problem. The things that the conspiracy theorists were saying about lockdowns, about tyrannical responses of government. Well, here we go. We have it in writing. The United States government, or at least the select subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic of the United States House of Representatives, have admitted to us finally. And, again, there's been little media coverage of this document. I mean, granted, in conservative circles, it was viewed as a win. But for the most part, you're not going to see a bunch of talking heads on CNN admitting they were wrong. Let's see here. And the same media that sold us all the stuff about coronavirus tried to sell us a bunch of bills of goods on the most recent election. Let's see here. I thought I had that brought up. I do not. Anyway, they tried to sell us a bill of goods on the most recent election. They tried to lie to us about the election. They told us all kinds of horror stories about what this country would be like under a Donald Trump presidency. And, it's almost like the same people you feed information to will have the same reaction every time, just waiting for the mainstream media to feed them the new narrative. And, these people, even though we spent the whole election season trying to tell them the truth, we've spent the entire past 5 years trying to tell them the truth, there's still just a certain number of people who's going to continue to act and overreact as if they can trust the media more than their own lying eyes. And, that has varying results. Here's a crazy person.
This is an emergency. Please call 911. Jen, how can I help you?
Hi, I'd like to schedule an appointment with Dr.
And are you the subscriber for this coverage?
Yes, ma'am.
And what's this appointment for?
A consultation for sterilization.
Alrighty, I have you scheduled.
If you own a uterus and you live in America, it is the time to start seriously seeking sterilization. If you are done having kids, if you never want kids, if you're not on birth control, I don't care if your partner has a vasectomy, like it's still imperative that you seek protection for your body. And in my opinion, like birth control is not enough.
These
and
people.
At this point, you need to get it done and you need to seek it and get on a waiting list and go to whatever doctor you need to go to make it happen now before it's illegal.
Before it's illegal. I got to stop that right there. Before it's illegal. Look, there's a lot of doctors out there who won't even perform these kind of surgeries on women who don't have children for fear of malpractice suits later. So again, whether or not it's illegal isn't the problem. Finding a doctor willing to do it. Now, granted, there's a lot of leftist doctors out there who understand the need now. Like, oh,
it's a non-negotiable if you are serious about like not having kids. America is no longer a safe place to have a child. It is no longer a safe place to be pregnant or become a mother. It is no longer a place that we have reproductive freedoms.
Okay, well, now you lost me there. Okay, so yeah, it's not really super safe because of all the violent crime, the poverty. But, that could be changing soon. So I kind of half agree with her. Yeah, America's not a super safe place right now. But this not having reproductive freedoms, I've showed you guys my chart, haven't I? Let me bring up my chart real quick. I'm sure I've reposted it on Twitter recently. So here you have a flow chart. Here you have a flow chart, right? So you start at the top here, right? And with each level is a decision one can make. And as you say no, you keep going further down, right? And as you say yes, you move over to the right, right? So this woman says she doesn't have reproductive rights. Well, she has the right to track her fertility. That's a right she has. And so if she does that, there's a high likelihood she won't have a baby. Now, granted, none of these are 100%. Not a single one of these is 100%. Not even the abortion is 100%. But let's continue. So if she says no to tracking her fertility, well, then she could go get a birth control pill or the shot or some sort of hormonal birth control. And there's a high likelihood she would have no baby. Okay. Well, let's say she doesn't want to track her fertility, doesn't want to take hormonal birth control. Well, she could choose not to socialize romantically with fertile men. Now, understand, when I posted this recently, someone shot back with, "What, is she just supposed to remain celibate her whole life?" No, no, not at all. There are men, like she said, the woman from the video said, there are men who have had vasectomies. There are men who are sterile. There are, God forbid, women. You leftists like lesbians, right? So there's lots of ways to socialize romantically that don't involve fertile men. So, but if you choose infertile men or you choose not to socialize romantically, chances are no baby. But if you say no to that, okay, let's move on. Well, you could just choose not to have sex. Now, granted, again, a lot of people don't want to choose celibacy, but odds are if you're celibate, no baby. Next level. Okay, you could have sex, but it doesn't have to be penetrative, right? Doesn't have to be P in the V. It could be P in the A. It could be oral, right? These are options, folks. These are decisions you can make. They're not the best decisions. They're not the easiest decisions. They're not the most fun decisions, but they're decisions you can make. So she says she has no reproductive rights, but if you choose these other options, chances are no baby. Okay, well, let's say, okay, none of those decisions are good. Well, let's try, spermicide. Let's try jelly, or let's try the sponge, condoms. These two kind of go hand in hand a little bit. Chances are no baby. Singlet says nose love. What? Oh, yeah, like the oral, yeah. The non-penetrative. Well, I don't know. You can penetrate someone with your nose, I guess. And then, there's the classic pull-out method, ejaculating elsewhere. Granted, there's more of a chance of a baby with that one, but still, chances are, if you mix this with another one, no baby. And of course, there's Plan B, taking the Plan B pill the next day, no baby. But again, it all comes back to this one right. We just want women to have a right to choose. It all comes back to this one right to choose, even though you have failed to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other choices. You have failed. You have made the wrong choice 9 times now. You need that one more choice. You need that one more right, because the other 8 rights you had were not good enough. So again, let's go back to this lady and let's hear how she no longer has reproductive freedoms.
And I cannot stress enough how much relief that I have, because I got my tubes out like 3 years ago. I have no kids. And it was one of the hardest things I had to fight for over a decade. And I really feel like it is one of the only things bringing me any kind of sense of peace after the news that we have this morning.
Fun times, fun people, fun people. Oh my Lord. So, lots of people are reacting to the Donald Trump presidency in different ways. And of course, Joe Biden reacted by pardoning his son for all federal crimes, going all the way back to 2014. Sangla says, I thought you'd know that one. It's with the tentacle stuff. Japan is weird, the more you know. Like a Pinocchio thing? Or is this like somebody taking it in the nose? All right. So there was this glorious clip coming out of the Hunter Biden pardon situation. There was this glorious clip on CNN. I just had to play on the show today. You guys, if you haven't seen this, this is amazing. This needs to happen more with guests on CNN.
In July of 2023, just after that plea deal fell through, this is what you said. I want to watch.
Do you think a pardon for his son would be a mistake?
Yes, and I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends and anyone who had any access to him. And I think you see that in this case, where he kept on, and Merrick Garland kept on, a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney to investigate the president's son. If there is not an indication of the independence of the Department of Justice beyond that, I don't know what we could look for.
What does that feel like, watching yourself back then, reassuring people?
Here's the great part. I love this. Now, again, I usually say you don't hate journalists enough. There's some cases in which they surprise you.
Biden was not going to issue a pardon for his son.
Yeah, and I think that if that plea agreement and that plea deal had gone through, there would be no pardon. That was a satisfactory outcome.
It already fallen
that
through.
Only was. Sorry?
When you reacted, this was when the deal had fallen through. And I hear what you're saying.
So pretty much owned there. And this has been the common take from leftists. You had Whoopi Goldberg saying similar stuff on The View. You know, you have all the leftists coming out saying, well, things changed. Things changed. Well, the only thing that changed was you didn't win the election. Literally everything else was already known. The only thing that changed was you did not win the election. So this idea, and again, Whoopi Goldberg came out and she's like, I don't understand the pearl clutching. What's with the pearl clutching? And you know what? Let me go ahead and just bring the fucking clip up. Let's see. It was Charlemagne. Whoopi. Let's see. Here we go. Charlemagne the God was on The View. Find the longer version. Okay, here's a 5-minute version. Jesus. I'll have to skip some of this.
For pardoning his son Hunter, after repeatedly saying he would never do it, and a lot of people are saying that it's hypocritical, etc. As if
this might get me bounced on YouTube.
Your reaction to it?
I mean, I think all of
if
the
you're on
criticism
YouTube, stay
is valid
tuned.
because Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time, and they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to whether or not his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, "Hey."
See, and Whoopi Goldberg does not hear any of this. None of this sinks into her brain. The problem isn't necessarily that Joe Biden pardoned Hunter Biden. We all kind of expected that. But then when he came out and he swore to the American people he was not going to do it. Like, this became yet another lie our government tells us. This became yet another reason why we cannot trust our government and media. And you had individuals like we saw in that last clip that made it political, made it partisan, and it's like, look how noble Joe Biden is. Why can't Trump be that noble? And used it to get us to support this old guy who they wanted to run for president.
Man, I'm not focused on that right now. But since they were calling Trump a threat to democracy and they were saying that, nobody's above the law, but they were speaking about him, that's what they were running on. So when he kept saying things like, nobody's above the law, I respect, the jury's decision in regards to my son, he didn't believe that. But
look how intent Whoopi Goldberg is staring at this man and yet not hearing a word he said.
He didn't have to volunteer that lie to begin with.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You really think he just
changed his mind? Oh.
changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of
No,
a sudden?
I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over.
Okay, I'm actually going to stop this there because that's the perfect place to stop it. Because, okay, well, who's everybody else? Who is everybody else in that? And does this mean his son needs to get over more than everyone else? Does this mean Joe Biden himself needs to get over? Again, whatever happened to our selfless politicians? I mean, granted, if they've ever existed, but the idea of a statesman. Why do you need to get over? And how is pardoning your son you getting over? If anything, that's handing Trump another win. You know, whether or not your son gets off for a gun charge in an IRS tax evasion charge, that's not going to make Trump lose sleep tomorrow night. That's not going to make conservatives lose sleep tomorrow night. It pisses us off. It makes us correct. Whoopi Goldberg goes on to say, I don't understand all the pearl clutching. Well, this is the pearl clutching. I don't care if circumstances change. I don't care if you change your mind. Don't come out and tell us how noble you are in advance. Don't come out and act like you're morally superior in advance. And then come back at us later like they did with the COVID stuff. And be like, well, we didn't know. We didn't know everything you said would happen was going to happen. And when everything you said happened, we had to change things. It's this incremental changing of morality that the Democrats have been doing. And you know what? Let me jump forward a little bit in my coverage here, because there's a clip I have saved up that is perfect for this part of the conversation. And again, if you want to know why far leftists are the way they are, you might be wondering what's up with the title of the stream today. Here's our title clip. Here's our title clip. I saved this because I thought this was worth talking about.
Fine, since nobody else is saying it, and I'm the only one that freaking says it, and nobody else wants to acknowledge it because they're absolutely terrified.
By the way, shout out to Orums542 on TikTok, man. This guy nails it right here. So let's restart. Sorry.
Fine, since nobody else is saying it, and I'm the only one that freaking says it, and nobody else wants to acknowledge it because they're absolutely terrified of these people. But
I'm just going to point out, no, there are lots of people who say these things. So, his little preface here that I'm the only one with the balls. Well, no, you're not the only one with the balls. I'll say it too. You just managed to connect the dots at a time when a lot of us weren't looking at the dots like this. So come on.
I'm not terrified of these people because I'm not made out of freaking 40% bitch. The Democratic Party and their platform, it is most geared towards narcissists. It is most geared towards people with heavy narcissistic traits.
All right.
Don't you think it's a little bit weird how they keep accusing people of doing what they're doing to people?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Hey,
everywhere.
I hope you get what you voted for. You voted against your own best interest. Kamala lost because of sexism and misogyny.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Great.
You guys are all uneducated. I hope you get what you voted for.
Oh, I'm sure good luck with the low gas prices.
We're going to start a 4B movement and swear off men.
Oh my god. I mean, it's perfect. The guy is perfect. He must have seen this list and was like, "Oh my god, this is the election in a nutshell."
Ladies, divorce your husbands and get ready to poison them. Guys, we haven't been arguing left versus right. We've been arguing empaths versus narcissists. That doesn't mean that every single Democrat has NPD, no. But narcissistic traits, we all have them in varying degrees. Begin in childhood through a combination of factors like overindulgence, excessive praise for superficial qualities. I really want you to pay attention to Kamala's voter demographics. I really want you to pay attention to Kamala's voter demographics. I don't think I need to say it a third time for you to understand that that's the gigantic context clue that you need to be looking at to understand why we have a narcissist problem in this
White
country.
women,
a lack of emotional validation,
black
or
women.
experiencing trauma, which can lead a child to develop an inflated sense of self-importance and a need for constant admiration to feel valued.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Fucking bullseye. Fucking bullseye. You know, this to me goes back to all politics, left and right. And so many people who get wrapped up in the political fight do so because they need to be part of the winning team. It's all part of the winning team. I want winning ideas. I don't care about the winning team. And so this self-importance and validation, you know, these are the circle jerks we've seen throughout the whole election season. And all the identity politics right here in a nutshell.
Again, look at Kamala's demographics. Look at her demographics. You tell me which one of these demographics are given to overindulgence at an early age and being excessively praised for superficial qualities. And when it comes to her black vote, no, that wasn't this narcissism, even though the black men were coerced. Let's be real about it. Black men, you know that if you voted any other way, your home life would have exploded. You were facing narcissism in your home life.
No comment there.
There you go. I just gave you the answers to the test. You're going to reject it. Of course, you're going to reject it because, well, me being right means a lot of horrible things in your personal life.
Yep.
And that's just too scary for you to cope with right now. And that's perfectly fine. Reject it if you will. I'm just trying to put power into your hands. I'm trying to give you more knowledge and control over what's been going on in your life. If you don't want to take it, I'm more than happy to take advantage of this knowledge and let you run around blind. I'll just consume you like the rest of them. Okay, fine. I couldn't leave well enough alone. You guys.
He stopped recording and then had another thought that he's like, I do this shit all the time. Like, man, I wish I had said that in my video. He turned the fucking camera back on and kept going. I need to start doing that.
Ever listen to somebody with NPD or psychopathy talk about children? They always refer to children as like property or pets. Which side of the aisle treats children like property or pets?
So shout out to him. Very good, concise points he was making there. You know, you can't argue with what he was saying. You just can't. And the far left are never going to admit it. So, who acts like children are property and pets? Well, this week we had the state of Tennessee take their case to the Supreme Court. And that case was essentially saying, look, we don't want our children of the state of Tennessee experimented on with gender changing drugs and surgeries. And our Supreme Court got to hear arguments from the left and from the state of Tennessee on whether or not it should be considered a right for parents to decide these medical interventions for their children and overturn the ban of the state of Tennessee on gender affirming drugs and treatments for minors. And we had some interesting questions, interesting to say the least, from our Supreme Court justices. And again, like that gentleman said, who treats children like property? Well,
being drawn by the statute. That was sort of like the starting point. The question was whether it was discriminatory because it applied to both races and it wasn't, necessarily invidious.
She's talking
or whatever,
about,
but
she's talking about interracial marriage here, and she tries to make it a comparison here to transgender rights.
as I read the statute here, the case here, the court starts off by saying that Virginia is now one of 16 states which prohibit and punish marriages on the basis of racial classifications. And when you look at the structure of that law, it looks in terms of, you can't do something that is inconsistent with your own characteristics. It's sort of the same thing. So it's interesting to me that we now have this different argument, and I wonder whether Virginia could have gotten away.
Okay, but characteristics. And Alito follows this up later, and I'll mention that here. Alito follows this up later by asking if these traits are immutable. And immutable essentially means unchanging. And so the idea of race being immutable is one thing. But the whole argument here is that gender is immutable, and therefore kind of hard to claim that you're being discriminated against for something you can't change if your whole argument is that you want to change it.
With what they did here by just making a classification argument the way that Tennessee is in this case.
Yes, I think that's exactly right, that there is absolutely a parallel between any law that says you can't act inconsistent with a protected characteristic and in all other contexts
being drawn.
Protected characteristic. Now, again, you see the language that's being used, right? Protected characteristic. Well, who's protecting the characteristic and why? And is a decision a characteristic? Is it a human trait? Right? Is it an immutable characteristic? Oh, I should have brought this next clip up when we were talking about the COVID stuff. Here's everyone's favorite Batman villain.
Here's the reason why we need to care about this stuff, Nicole, is that we have some big picture stuff coming down the pike starting on January 21st. Mr. Bloomberg mentioned
Big stuff coming down the pike. Oh, you must mean, Trump's going to be president. He's going to, bring all these cabinet appointees in and kind of transform the way our government handles important stuff. Yeah, so those are pretty big things, right? That's what you're talking about, right? Is the way our government functions is going to change in pretty big ways. You're obviously talking about that, right?
Bloomberg mentioned H5N1. That I'm really worried about. It's all over wild birds. On the west.
You mean bird flu is coming exactly on January 22nd? Okay.
Western part of the United States and going up in the north, it's getting into the poultry. We're seeing sporadic human cases, no human-to-human transmission yet, but that could happen. It's in the cattle, it's in the milk, and that's just the beginning. We have another major coronavirus likely brewing.
Where's it brewing at? Where is it brewing at? Huh? Is it brewing at the NIH? Is it brewing in your laboratory there, Mr. Hotez?
In Asia, we've had SARS in 2002, SARS-2, COVID-19 in 2019. And we know these viruses are jumping from bats to people thousands of times a year. But there's still more. We know that we have a big problem with mosquito-transmitted viruses all along the Gulf Coast, where I am here in Texas.
And this is all on January 21st, right? Why did you say these problems would start on January 21st and then list off a bunch of problems from 2012, 2018, 2019? Singlet says Ukraine, of course.
So we're expecting dengue and
We'll get into
possibly
Ukraine.
Zika virus coming back, or a
Zika virus.
maybe even yellow fever.
Yellow
and there's
fever.
more. Then we have all this sharp rise in vaccine preventable diseases going up because of, in part, the anti-vaccine activism that's so prominent right now. We have a 5-fold rise in pertussis cases, whooping cough over the last year, 15 measles outbreaks this year. We've got polio that's been in the wastewater in New York State.
Okay, and what are the death tolls? What are the death tolls compared to the death tolls of the side effects of these treatments that you're suggesting people get? That's the question everybody has.
All that's going to come crashing down on January 21st on the Trump administration. We need a really, really good team to be able to handle this.
All of it on January 21st. Wow. Really? I mean, this is quite literally mad science. This is quite literally, I mean, look, he's on MSNBC just spouting off, literally. Trump takes his hand off the Bible, goes to sleep that night, wakes up, and all these diseases are running rampant across America. But as long as Joe Biden is in there, nobody's going to catch SARS, H5N1, yellow fever, polio. Yeah, none of these things happen now, even though he's saying that it's been happening all this fucking time. But January 22nd, that's when we really need to worry about viral transmission for some reason or another. Folks, this is yet another narcissist trait, right? This savior complex. No, you have to trust me. I'm the only one that can save you. Sorry, I just realized I had reverb on this whole time, and I had to cough. So I hit the mute button and turned the reverb off. All right. Hopefully that sounds a little better for you folks. Oh, my Lord. I mean, quite literally, anybody who has seen any comic book movie knows that scientists like that are supervillains. Okay. See, what else do we have? We have Georgia agreeing to give a transgender inmate gender confirming surgery. And let's see. Let's see what else I can find here from my bookmarks, because some of these aren't really worth talking about. Okay. Let's do this in You Don't Hate the Media Enough. You Don't Hate the Media Enough news. So the media has been going on the best smear in, you know what? Let's go ahead and go to Google News. So this has been kind of a weekly thing here on Miles Culture Plate. We just skim Google News and just look at, we try to count the hit pieces. We try to see how much of the Google News feed are hit pieces about Donald Trump's cabinet picks. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'll admit the hit pieces have faded away a little bit, but let's see here. Trump hesitates to personally lobby for endangered cabinet picks. Okay, Lindsey Graham misguided in his Pete Hegseth defense. Okay, so Lindsey Graham hit piece. Looking like Pete Hegseth will still be able to drink. Why is Pete Hegseth's pick in jeopardy? Ask Senate Republicans. Zelensky and Trump met. Alina Habba predicts that Biden will hand out pardons like they're Tic Tacs. We'll get into the pardon stuff here in a little bit. Oh, Musk and Ramaswamy. Doge echoes past budget promises that face big hurdles. So yeah, here's where Doge isn't going to do anything. It's not going to have any effect. Me. Supreme Court transgender stuff. Oh, the TikTok ban is going to be in effect soon. So people are moving to Instagram and YouTube, apparently. Another fatal shooting of an African American. Oh, yeah, the Daniel Penny trial. We haven't really covered much of it. The manslaughter charge has been dismissed. The jury is a hung jury. It's most likely going to go to deliberation on Monday for all the lesser charges. Texas House Speaker race. Democrats vie to make the Biden pardon list. We'll talk a little bit about that here pretty soon. Nick Fuentes has now been arrested for the pepper spray video. Politico. Democrats inch toward the anger phase of their election loss. Folks, you have been angry for decades. You're never not angry. Don't play. Going to talk about Ukraine here in a little bit. Woman in a sinkhole. Hegseth and Collins push for cutting veterans' benefits. Yeah. What did Kash Patel do at Truth Social? What does Trump see in Kash Patel? Trump's billionaires set to take government by storm. Trump has assembled an uber wealthy cabinet, raising risks of ethics conflicts. Cabinet of billionaires worth a combined $340 billion. Okay, looks like that's all on the cabinet picks. So yeah, and you don't hate the media enough news. You had the Washington Post come out with this article the other day. Bronze stars, like the one Hegseth earned, are common among military officers. In other words, it's no fucking big deal, right? Hegseth's bronze star is no fucking big deal. You don't need to, you don't need to put any weight on that. Like Hegseth is just a Fox News guy. His military expertise isn't going to continue over to the Department of Defense. You don't need to worry about his bronze star. Well, April 2009, the Washington Post had this to say about bronze stars. Back from Iraq, a bronze star from Biden. So Army Sergeant from Waldorf is honored, taking on duties above rank. Waldorf man served 2 tours of duty in Iraq as an intelligence analyst and non-commissioned officer and was given one of the Army's most prestigious awards this month from Vice President Biden, authorities said. Yeah, that would have been a Bronze Star. Yeah. Most prestigious award. From 2009 to 2024, the Washington Post thinks the Bronze Star went from one of the most prestigious awards to just common among military officers. Supporters point to his wartime decorations and declaring him qualified to lead the Defense Department. Military experts say that doing so distorts those medals' significance. It's insignificant, folks. You don't hate the media enough. You literally don't hate the media enough. So you had this tweet from Representative Eric Burleson. And this has been a point of contention here. This has been quite the conversation piece this week. My message to GOP senators who don't want to confirm Trump's nominees: Trump took a bullet to the head and dragged you into the majority. The American people sent him a mandate, and the American people are watching. So again, there's a lot of debate right now on whether or not Trump has a mandate, right? Whether or not that the Republican majority in Congress and in local governments and the red wave that happened, right? Whether that was truly a MAGA red wave, whether it was truly a mandate to Republicans to do what Trump asks. And, you know, you've had Lindsey Graham and other people say, nah, not really. You've had other Republicans jump on board. We'll see. And I like what Burleson's saying here. It's true. If you stonewall the government that's coming in to clean house, you're telling the American people we don't want accountability. And it's going to be a message that will be very clearly told to the American people. Because regardless of what you think of conservative media and how ineffective conservatives get their message out, the people who pay attention, the people who vote, they're starting to listen. They're starting to understand. And they're realizing how internet virality works. If Lindsey Graham votes no on confirming Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, the voters will know. Lindsey Graham will have a target on his head. And I don't mean in a threatening manner. I mean his seat. His seat in the Senate. He will have to take the same walk of shame that Liz Cheney has walked. He will have to take the same walk of shame that all the rhinos wind up having to take. And we're going to be getting into another rhino here in a little bit. Because, quite frankly, I'm a little pissed off that more of us in the conservative community aren't straight up pissed off at a certain Republican House of Representatives member in leadership. But we'll get into that here shortly. So what's the answer? What should Donald Trump do if his nominees aren't confirmed? Should he do what he did already once? Matt Gaetz had to step down, and he had to nominate Pam Bondi. Not the best thing for us. Should he just withdraw the nominations, try to put someone else up who's a little more bipartisan, right? Who's a slightly less MAGA? I don't think so. I think he does have a mandate. I think he quite literally has a mandate from the American people. After the COVID madness, the border crisis, and the stuff happening in Israel, the stuff happening in Ukraine, I think Trump has a mandate. The people want accountability. They are sick of being lied to. They're sick of being lied to, and they're sick of being told that their concerns are secondary to something else. So, yeah, Donald Trump. I think it's time Donald Trump threatens Republicans, threatens Democrats. If my cabinet appointees do not get appointed, then Musk and Ramaswamy are going to gut that department. If I can't lead these departments as the executive with the people who I am putting forth, those departments are getting gutted. We'll shift it around to where other departments will take over some of those things, and we'll just do it a different way. You're the executive. You can determine how those regulations and laws get enforced. The hundreds upon hundreds of government departments and sub-departments get reorganized. The president has the power, and Doge is going to have that power too. Doge is going to have a power where they're not going to need a Senate confirmation. Elon Musk is Donald Trump's strongest ally right now, because essentially he's going to control the power of the purse. It's supposed to be our Congress controlling the power of the purse. But when you want to send billions of dollars to a foreign shithole, and the Department of Defense just, hey, okay. The State Department's just like, hey, okay. You just added more to our budget. It ain't going to fucking foreign shithole country. Good luck. The executive has to issue that money. The executive has to move that money over. Kind of like this.
And I'm proud to announce today the commitment of a new Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative package worth nearly $1 billion. And I'm proud to announce today the commitment of a new Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative package worth nearly $1 billion.
Okay, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Just announcing that another $1 billion is going to go to Ukraine. right? And then you have that happening 2 days after Mike Johnson said this.
Last week, Biden administration requested to attach the upcoming CR additional aid to Ukraine, $24 billion. Do you planning to do that? What is your position?
I'm not planning to do that. There are developments by the hour in Ukraine. I think, as we predicted, and as I said to all of you weeks before the election, if Donald Trump is elected, it will change the dynamic of the Russia war on Ukraine. And we're seeing that happen. So it is not the place of Joe Biden to make that decision now. We have a newly elected president, and we're going to wait and take the new commander-in-chief's direction on all of that. So I don't expect any Ukraine funding to come up.
Okay, so essentially, Mike Johnson here is making a promise that our Congress will not be giving any more money to Ukraine for the rest of Joe Biden's term. Now, you just heard Lloyd Austin say they're giving them another $1 billion this week. So, yeah. I mean, this is probably money already allocated to the Defense Department. And the Defense Department is probably calculated, that this aid is a mixture of money, weaponry, and other aid packages, supplies, etc. But you know what? This isn't the first time I've heard such a promise from Speaker Johnson. In fact, when he was first elected Speaker, he made a declaration. Ukraine would get not a single dollar of U.S. aid until the United States southern border was secure. And yeah, he had to come to the media with his tail between his legs and say, well, yeah, but I didn't realize. Yeah, they just kind of need the money. We couldn't get the border deal passed, and Ukraine really needs the money. So if your sister gets stabbed on the subway by an illegal migrant, well, Ukraine needed the money. I know Mike Johnson talks a big game, and he sounds pretty MAGA as of late. But this is a guy who's literally following the political wind and going where the power and the money is. And so when he says, yeah, no more money to Ukraine, yeah, he might be right. He might be saying, yeah, we'll see what Trump says about it. But understand, he's not doing it because he supports Trump. He's doing it because he has no choice. He's doing it because he has no fucking power. He's sandwiched between a small Republican majority of mostly MAGA and a few no votes from neocons who would side with the Democrat Party to provide a voting majority that would shut him up every fucking time, and he would vote along with them if he thought it would give him more power. We need a new Speaker of the House. And oh, look, here's the
and they're on the right side of this fight.
here's the promise
I
he
have
made
asked the
months
White
ago.
House since the day that I was handed the gavel as Speaker for clarity. We need a clear articulation of the strategy to allow Ukraine to win. And thus far, their responses have been insufficient. They have not provided us the clarity and the detail that we've requested over and over since literally.
So yeah, no more money unless the border is secure and Biden tells us what the plan to win Ukraine is.
24 hours after I was handed the gavel as Speaker of the House. And so what the Biden administration seems to be asking for is billions of additional dollars with no appropriate oversight, no clear strategy to win, and none of the answers that I think the American people are owed. I have also made very clear from day one that our first condition on any national security supplemental spending package is about our own national security first. The border.
Yep, there you go. And he caved. And he fucking caved. And we've been funding Ukraine ever since. All right, let me bring this down. Wow, I'm already burning through a lot of these topics. So last week we played a clip from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett where they were talking in a committee hearing about whether or not discriminating against white people with these DEI programs, discriminating against straight people and men with these DEI programs was oppression. And she went on this long rant about the word oppression and how dare people use oppression to talk about white men. Because white men, you show me one white man who's ever been oppressed. And she went through this whole rant. Well, she wasn't done hating white people. She apparently was not done hating white people. Because she doubled down this week.
Where we were talking about how many voters. Listen, when you're counting people, you're not just counting voters. You count children, don't you?
Correct.
Okay, so she's talking now about the census, right? She's talking about the census and how representative seats are apportioned among the states and what the racial demographic of the communities they represent might be. And she draws some interesting conclusions here.
Count a lot of people that aren't necessarily voters, and I want to make sure that we really get to the nitty-gritty on Texas, because this is hilarious to me. Texas added 2 seats in 2020 according to the census, and we know that there was a significant undercount specifically in Texas for a combination of reasons, but we know that specifically Texas added 4 million people. Of those 4 million people, do you want to take a guess at how many were Anglos? Just a guess.
Oh, this is oh, let's get on.
Say a majority.
180,000. That's it, of 4 million. 95% of the people that were added. And we know that when it comes to minority populations, they.
Okay, but that, look, you're playing a statistics game. Yes, when you're counting children and migrants and everything else, you're going to have 4 million more. But understand, like, they're not going to be all concentrated in one region of a gigantic state like Texas. So let's continue with that information.
Tend to be undercounted. So get this. We added 4 million people. They were people of color. Texas got 2 new seats. So they took those black and brown and Asian bodies. And guess what? Do you think that we got a new black, brown, or Asian seat? Somehow the
Now, Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but was this not a point of contention around the election when Donald Trump talked about creating black jobs? Now she's talking about black seats. Okay. Yeah, the seat wasn't black. Why? Because you can add 4 million people to the state of Texas. You spread them evenly like peanut butter. And you still have several districts that are majority white. You carve them up proportionally. I'm not saying gerrymandering don't happen. It fucking does. But to just assume we added 4 million black voters, so then therefore the best person for the job of representing the state of a sub-district of the state of Texas, automatically the best person for that job is going to be a black person. Even though we, like, how many ran for a primary in those districts? How many ran against the white guys or the white women? How many Hispanics ran against the white guys and the white women? I don't know. Maybe there was one or two. But were they the best candidate? Did they have the best ideas? That's for the voters to decide. And if the 4 million African American, Hispanic, Asian, and other shades of brown folks did not get out the vote for those people, you can't blame it all on gerrymandering. You can't blame it all on racism, but it's Jasmine Crockett, so she will go to the only argument she
The
ever
way that
has
they
for
do
anything.
their Republican math in the state of Texas, that amounted to 2 new white seats. Guess what?
White
Republican seats. We
White
got 2
Republican
new Republican seats out of 4 million people of color. So let me tell you, they love to use our bodies to apportion us in an inaccurate way.
Using their bodies. Oh, she makes it sound so. Yeah. She makes it sound so aggressive. Using their bodies. I think maybe it's been a while since Representative Crockett has had her body used in the ways that she would like. From the New York Post. Speaking of race, from the New York Post, an Atlanta bar had to have police called to break up a barroom brawl between races of people. Let's watch this video here from the New York Post. A little loud, sorry folks. Surveillance video posted by the Ideal Sports Ball in Atlanta shows how the moment a brawl broke out between patrons. The fight, which left several people injured, started after customers allegedly became agitated when members in a band made derogatory comments about white people. Patrons turned into hecklers, with one man reported yelling the N-word at black members of the band. Owners of the bar said they're cooperating with Atlanta Police Department have banned all parties involved in the melee. Oh, now let's. Oh, wait. I don't know what this is. Bring that down. Bring that back up. Bring the original video. Okay. And then on the in the article here, it says, once the N-word was thrown out, I knew it was going to be pretty bad. One white band member told the outlet in an on-camera interview, I think they wanted to kill. They didn't want to fight. He added of the hecklers. So here you have the African-American guitarist holding his guitar in the middle of the crowd, and this person exchanging words with them. And then gets a little. Video of the brouhaha. One man grabs a woman who's dancing with the band. He becomes the center of a swirling skirmish, pinning the woman on the pool table and swinging his fists. When he emerges from the tussle, blood drips down his forehead. One shield maiden is seemingly distributing wooden weapons to those already engaged in fighting. Some people grab chairs and threaten to throw them. I didn't expect it to get as serious as it did. I didn't expect that much violence, the band member told WSB TV. Sorry if you could hear that. Sanglan says, I don't care how. We need to send Tommy Sotomayor to Congress to testify against Weave. Yeah, dude, her hair was quite wild in that, wasn't it? Let's bring that back up.
Listen, when you're counting people, you're
Look
not
at
just
that
counting
hair.
voters. You count children, don't you?
Correct.
Yeah, we need Tommy Sotomayor on this. Good old Tommy will get her straightened out quick. Okay. Go back to the racial brawl here. So here we are in 2024 having race wars happen at bars. You know, a lot of people don't say the N-word in public anymore, but you know, we're in a time where white people are sick of being the butt of jokes. We're sick of people like Representative Crockett there telling us we don't deserve our seats in Congress, even if, you know, the most qualified person won the vote of their community. Well, no, you're too white to be a congressman. And it eventually someone's going to get sick of it and they're going to shout out the N-word. I do not advise doing that. Because you will get in a fight. It's fighting words. Let's watch this video again. Instead of reading the text, I'm going to kind of commentary the whole. Okay, so you had this woman. Uh-oh. Why is he beating up on a woman? Like, that's weird. And then you had a pool stick swinging over here. There's like a group of fists just going wild here. Let me go back a little bit and see what's going on this part of the crowd. Okay, you got someone on the ground. Oh, you got this guy getting something. Okay, I want to go back again. So you got a pool stick, so swinging over here. You got this person with no shirt on. Running back here, and look, oh my God, hang on. Look at this guy. Look at this guy with no shirt on. He runs all the way to the back of the room, and then he keeps leaning in like he's yelling something at somebody. He's such a pussy. This scrawny little fucker up here. He's such a pussy. He runs to the back of the room and starts screaming at people. He like hides behind. Like that's got to be the white band member, right? Because that's the stage. That looks like that's the stage. The white band member runs back there and starts shouting shit. Meanwhile, this guy gets his ass just beat. Meanwhile, you got lady here in the pigtails, just not fazed by any of it. She's just trying to hold whatever she's holding here. She's probably a waitress or something. I mean, there's so much to just. And then you got these two over here, these two fucking goth chicks Just like, or one's probably a dude, but you know, they're just like, I can't believe what the fuck I'm seeing. Anyway, so there's that. Oh yeah, look, yeah, Snoop Dogg giving the high weather on Al Roker. Oh, look at that. It's all fucking stoner humor. Oh, anyway. Fucking goddamn it, New York Post. Oh shit. So the state I grew up in, the state of Missouri, has made the news today. Really, yesterday. Because a new bill has been introduced in the Missouri State Senate, SB 72. And it's been introduced by David Gregory. State Senator David Gregory of Missouri has introduced this bill. And well, let's hear what he has to say about the bill.
Hey, Missouri, are you ready? We're about to be a national leader in combating illegal immigration. Talk about making national headlines.
Okay, so what are you going to do in the state of Missouri to combat illegal immigration? Now, look, I happen to spend quite a bit of time in the state of Missouri, even though I don't live there. I grew up in the state of Missouri. I ran for public office in the state of Missouri at one point in my life. So yeah, some of the politics of the state of Missouri do hit a little close to home for me. And this idea of illegal immigration in the state of Missouri has been something that has been on my radar for a while. So I'm curious what this David Gregory has planned for the state of Missouri. Let's see.
Senate Bill 72 will finally empower our police and our communities to protect themselves. This bill will make it a felony to be here in this state illegally. This bill will finally allow our police officers to arrest illegal immigrants. And it'll.
Okay, so I'm with you so far, but this sounds like, okay, we're going to arrest illegal immigrants and we're just going to lock them up on the taxpayer dime and have to feed them in the jails. I don't know, man. You got to give me a little more.
Allow our Department of Public Safety to investigate, to determine if someone's illegal, and dispatch licensed bounty hunters to effect those arrests.
Licensed bounty hunters. So you got somebody who's either overstayed their visa or they've been brought in under Biden's catch and release, which is also known as extended probation. So these people come across the border, they're given a court date 10, 15, 20 years out, and they're just here on probation. So you got this weird probation program under the CPB One app, and somebody commits a crime, somebody commits some sort of violation of that probation. A bounty hunter's able to investigate that and initiate an arrest. Or someone's overstayed their visa and a bounty hunter's allowed to investigate that and initiate an arrest. Wow, you had my attention. Now you've piqued my interest.
Once convicted, illegal immigrants will no longer have access to public benefits paid for by our tax dollars.
Oh, no more welfare. No more government aid. Okay. Sounds good so far.
And much like Crime Stoppers and other federal hotlines, if you submit an anonymous tip that leads to the arrest of an illegal immigrant, you'll be rewarded $1,000.
Okay, so instead of the money, the aid money going to the migrants, you're going to divvy it up between people who submit anonymous tips, narcs. It sounds a little Gestapo-y for me. Now, I'm all down for the bounty hunter stuff, but the anonymous tips, like that could go really awry in a lot of ways. And again, if it's an anonymous tip, how am I collecting the money? How do I get the money if it's anonymous? Right? If you don't know how to get back a hold of me to give me the money, how do I get the money? How is it anonymous? How am I going to know if my tip led to the arrest? This doesn't seem well thought out.
The voters have spoken. It's time to get serious about illegal immigration. President Trump, Missouri will have dangerous illegal immigrants gift wrapped and ready for deportation. Many more updates coming right here on X at David Gregory Mo.
Okay. So you won me over. You won me over with the bounty hunters and the investigations. You kind of lost me on the paying people to snitch and claiming it was going to be anonymous, because that's clearly not anonymous. So I thought about covering. There's a few stories I'm not going to cover. I'm not going to cover the Haktua coin. Everyone's complaining that the Haktua girl ripped people off by starting her own meme coin, starting her own crypto, and then pulling the rug out from investors. I'm not going to be covering that. Let's see, what else did I not cover that was in my list here? There's a couple more clips. I mentioned earlier that U.S. government agreed to give a sex change to an inmate who tried bombing the U.S. government. Guy locked up in Georgia. You know, I could rant about that if you want, but quite frankly, you know, it sounds stupid enough on face value that I shouldn't need to. Yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything else. There's some more audio and clips of some of the Supreme Court members in the whole Tennessee thing, but I just skipped over it because it's not that big a deal. Okay, back on the Hunter Biden pardon. On the last my last show, I was looking for a clip of Karine Jean-Pierre being grilled about it, and we do have this. Jim.
Just very specifically.
It's not only colleagues who watch this. There's also the American people.
Exactly.
So to be fair,
and they were
right?
told by you in July
Yeah.
that this would not happen, and it did. Do you?
Okay.
I'm saying, asking for yourself, not the president's statement, but for yourself. Do you
Yeah.
feel like you are owed an apology by the president? Do you owe an apology to the American people?
Okay, are you owed an apology from the president, and do you owe an apology to the American people? Now let's hear her response.
To the American people.
Zeke, I just laid out the president's thinking. The president laid it out himself in his own words. He did. He laid out how he wrestled with this decision. He said in his statement, as a president, as a father, he talked about how difficult it was to make this decision.
You
He
don't
thought
hate
about
these
it this
people enough.
weekend. He did. He thought about it this weekend. He wrestled with it. And there are some, factors, some real factors that he took into consideration. And that's why I keep saying folks should just take a look. Take a look. Read his statement.
We read his statement.
And I know what I said. I know what the president said. That is where we were at the time. That is where the president was at the time. I am his spokesperson. This weekend, he thought about it. He wrestled with it. And made this decision. That's what I can tell the American people.
Why should they
And I
have any
think,
confidence in anything else?
I think the American people understand, and I think they understand how difficult this decision would be. And I would actually add, and I think it's important to note here as you're asking me these questions, important questions to ask, that there was a poll, a US Gov poll that came out, that some of you all reported on it, and it said 64% of the American people agree with the pardon.
Okay. Yes, we all agreed that we would pardon our kids if we were in his position. But that doesn't mean other Americans would have came out and told the country that we wouldn't do it. All right, let's get into women a little bit, and then we'll do the love, don't judge. I happened to see this clip from Pearly Things, I tend to not cover her as much anymore, but I thought this was an interesting clip. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. She posted this today.
But the more I've lived life, I've realized that we're already in polygamy. Most people don't know it yet. If you take the rate that people cheat within married relationships, up to 50% someday, some say as little as 25%, that's partially polygamy. If the woman's married to one guy, cheating with the personal trainer. On top of that, monogamy used to be one person for life. So if you have a first wife and a second wife, okay, I guess maybe it's a little different because the guy's not dating them or married to them at the same time. But the way they would see it in the East is that we do essentially the same thing. We just kind of do it at different periods in our life.
Patriarchal principles that true leadership flows from submission to God. Monogamy allows men to exercise focuses, legislation, and
Oh, what's
care
this? A panel
single
discussion with Andrew Wilson involved? I don't need to hear this guy. Is there any more from Pearlie?
that they remain.
Yeah, I don't need to hear this guy basically reiterate what she said. Here's what I have to say about that. Whether or not you call it polygamy, again, red pillars, MIG towers, we tend to call it hypergamy. It's not polygamy, it's hypergamy. To conflate these things and understand there's a big difference between satisfying a sexual urge and essentially what polygamy is. And what polygamy, the idea of polygamy, and she uses the term soft polygamy. What the fuck is soft polygamy? You're bastardizing these two terms because they mean radically different things. Hypergamy is all about acting on impulse. And say what you want about polygamists. You can hate on them all you want. You can disagree with them. You can dislike them. But many of the polygamists, the reason they do what they do is because it's not an impulse. It's literally, you could say it's abusive, but it's quite intentional. And so I think Pearlie's intent there is to use the hatred for the concept of polygamy to point out the problems with hypergamy. Because hypergamy is not a hated enough word amongst the sluts, right? But we need to change that. We don't need to 1984 the language. We need to change the fact that we don't hate hypergamy. And as such, here's an article from the New York Post. I'm a 34-year-old virgin, and this is the best thing about abstaining from sex. Let's hear from her own words. Oh, shit.
I literally, something fun about being a virgin in your 30s is that I literally have no baggage. I have no baggage. I have no drama in my life. No more drama. I'm good. I'm an uncomplicated person with an uncomplicated past. And it's great. So thank you. Something fun about being a virgin in your 30s is that I literally have no baggage.
Okay, they just repeat it twice. Okay. I have feelings about this. Lauren Hawkins, who hails from Portland, Maine, says her abstinence gives her a benefit for most other women her age don't have. She's free from the emotional trauma or baggage from past relationships. I genuinely don't feel bothered or embarrassed about it in any way, she told Caters. Who the fuck is Caters? Must be a some other fucking Cater's News. Okay. At it's Laurenciaga. Okay, let's just go to her Instagram here. Let's see. Oh, and every video is about how she's a happy virgin. Oh my God. Harkins finds casual sex repulsive and is proud that she's never given in to get it over with. She's waiting for the perfect person, explaining that she needs a strong emotional and spiritual connection with a man in order to be physical, something she has yet to find. But yet she doesn't have baggage, folks. She has no baggage, folks. I believe having casual sex is more emotionally damaging than people would like to think, and there is nothing about that way of life that appeals to me, she stated. I would like to have the experience of being in an intimate relationship when the time is right, but it's not something I'm rushing into. I'm quite happy and content on my own at this point. On Instagram, where she boasts 11,000 followers, she declares she's had no boyfriend since birth and regularly shares her experience as a chronically celibate woman who can travel the world without being tied down. It's always something I've been very open about and comfortable sharing. And I'm proud I've never done anything with anyone just to do it or get it over with. Her lifestyle may be unorthodox to some. She said she's being single has its perks. She has no baggage. She also doesn't experience attraction very often. And while she's open to the prospect of having a long-term partner, she isn't interested in tying the knot or having children. I didn't set out in life to be a 34-year-old virgin, but dating has never been a priority for me, she explained. I knew I wasn't ready in my teens and 20s, and it's only in my 30s that I'm open to the possibility of not being single. She said, everyone moves at their own pace, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Okay. Look, I'll bite. On the one hand, I have to say, very admirable. Big if true. Big if true. She's from Portland, Maine. She'd rather stay content with single status and stay celibate than jump into bed with, quote, the wrong man. I'm curious, just like when we watch Love Don't Judge, what we're about to do here in a minute. I want to know more. I want to know what her social circle looks like. She says she's traveling the world without being tied down. Oh, looky here. Not religious. And she's not religious. This is multiple articles in the New York Post about this woman now. Religion wasn't the reason she remained chaste. I'm a virgin, but not traditional. It's usually one or the other. I'm just very content on my own. She's not an unattractive woman, right? While her friends navigated the ups and downs of young loves, Harkins was dealing with the death of her father, who passed away when she was a teenager. She primarily lives off her late dad's trust fund. Ha ha ha! And has enjoyed an action-packed life of travel and adventure, saying simply sex wasn't a priority. Okay. I'm just a late bloomer. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. I have hundreds of messages from people in similar situations. So here's my diagnosis. Yeah, she's got dad's trust fund. Right? So she doesn't need a male provider. She's already got the male provider, right? She's got dad. Or at least dad's money now that dad passed away. She's an independent woman, right? She doesn't need someone to squish spiders. There goes her head, other than AOC eyes. Yeah. She doesn't need dude to squish spiders for her or bring home the bacon. She's got money. She's a capable, independent woman. And so, yeah, while she says she's watched her friends figuring out careers and navigating all this stuff, it wasn't something I wanted. Right? Her friends navigated the ups and downs of love. She was dealing with the death of her father. She didn't have time for love. She didn't have an urge to socialize. And she's getting all of her needs met. Because let's face it, women like sex, they enjoy orgasms. But very few of them have a need like men have a drive for the sex. The sex is a resource used to obtain the other goals. She doesn't need to do that. And so she's got this Instagram where every video, normal 33-year-old virgins can exist, a virgin in my 30s. You trying to think of a niche, and remember you still have something. I'm assuming it's her hymen. Tried to tell me about me, messes I've avoided by staying single and celibate. Let's see the texts. No thanks. Oops. Click the wrong button. Folks, nobody cares. But yes, it's very noble if all women would just stay celibate. Now, granted, she's in her 30s. And while she doesn't need men's money, eventually she's going to need something from men, companionship. It's going to get lonely at some point. Oh, yeah. I didn't talk about the biggest story of the week, did I? The murder of the CEO. I don't really have a lot to add to it. I mean, we've been hearing all the stories. It could have been a professional, maybe it wasn't a professional. The guy got away, but New York has tracked his movements and believe he's left the city. And was it a gun with a suppressor? Was it a animal euthanizing gun? I mean, a lot of questions, and the answers are slow going, and what answers we do have are kind of fucking sus. But we do know leftists and a lot of people are celebrating. Look, I'm not going to cry for the death of a CEO, but it is unfortunate that lives get lost and somebody would murder someone in cold blood in the street, but we don't know the motive. So I'm not going to cheer it on. And that's all I really have to say about that situation. Let's get into Love, Don't Judge. I need to actually find one. This is part of the we're not prepared for the show kind of stuff that a late start gets me into. JKL, Love, Don't Judge. There we go. Let's find a good one. What do we have here? I was a lesbian, now I'm a straight man. Yeah, let's do, well, I don't know. That one's kind of long. Oh, here we go. We'll do this one. All right. Let's see. Full screen, present, share screen. Okay, here we go. I make 6 figures, but my boyfriend pays for my lifestyle. Love, don't judge.
This is Ed. He fell in love with Hannah.
Ed and Hannah.
Despite both being successful business owners, Ed pays for everything.
He pays the rent and bills, and I would never split the cost on a meal out.
And this has meant their relationship has faced backlash.
My money is mine and your money is ours, fellas. Remember, them's the rules.
And Hannah has been subjected to cruel comments.
Oh, she's a lazy gold digger that doesn't work and just lives off her man.
People think that Hannah's like manipulating me, or that I'm just some young dude
No,
with
you're
money,
just dumb.
and she's taking advantage of me.
Friends have also
Yes,
expressed
she's
their
taking advantage
concern
of you, but you're
about
dumb.
the relationship.
My friend Jenny is coming over later. I'm a bit nervous about how it'll go.
It's not normal that a 22-year-old would do this for his girlfriend.
Uh-oh.
My name's Hannah, I'm 28, and I'm a business owner.
Hi, I'm Ed, and I'm 22, and I'm also a business owner.
We both earn multiple six figures a year. We are a modern couple in a traditional relationship.
Okay, well, what do you
he
do
pays
for
the rent and bills, and I take care of the house.
Like, what do you do for business if she's making six figures and he's still making fucking enough to not worry about it?
We met on Facebook when he saw a picture of me on his client's website and then added me on Facebook, and then we started talking.
And after like legit 2 weeks of talking, I flew out from Vancouver, Canada to London to meet her for the first time. Like in the middle of the pandemic.
He was only meant to stay for 2 weeks, but
He's Canadian and she's British. You can't make this shit up. He's fucking Canadian.
we got along so well that he ended up going back to pack up his stuff and then moving here. I think it's important that a man always tries to provide within his means. So it's not about the money benefit. It's about the mindset of a man who tries to take care of his woman within his financial means. So he pays the rent and bills, and I would never split the cost on a meal out. I think people hear that and it's shocking, but when you put our income into context, he can properly pay for our rent without it hurting financially.
We have friends.
Okay, but can doesn't mean should. And I think that's where I'm coming down on this is, you know, you could be right now you're just boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm, you know, from the title here, BF. But eventually you're going to want to build a house together. You're going to want to build a home, a lifestyle together. And like, if you've got this giant nest egg built up, but his is building slower. Like there will be this dynamic where, okay, well, where does the money come from to build this thing onto our life or that thing onto our life? And, you know, what do you do if you were to get pregnant and need to take 6 months off of work? Is he still going to just provide everything for you while you've still got all this money in the bank?
Who they make way more than I do, but the guy still won't pay all the rent for the girl because he has, in my opinion, a commitment issue. He's not like fully committed. And so that's more so about the mindset of the guy.
That's backwards.
The most judgment we got was from an article that was released earlier this year where they made up a fake quote. The quote was, I make...
If you're committed, then you're a team. You go into it as a team. Like the guy, yes, sacrifice, do whatever you got to do to sacrifice, but you also go through it smart, and the resources are a communal thing.
My boyfriend paid for everything. I'm an investment and should be spoiled. One of the most common judgments that we get online is, oh, she's a lazy gold digger that doesn't work and just lives off her man.
Yes.
A lot of them are like, she's not that good looking. She looks like a lady boy.
Another one is, dude is a simp.
She looks like a lady boy. Dude is a simp. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. Now, granted, personality is 90% of any relationship. I don't, you know, looks is a low blow, but oh my God, it's fucking great, man.
That's quite a common thing that men will say is when a man can provide for a woman financially, then he's a simp. Paying for your woman doesn't make you a pushover. It just...
Yes, it kind of does. It's the 21st century. And we've been told for 20 years that women are independent and don't need no man. And we've been told for 50 years that women need to be in the workplace and women need to have their own things. I firmly believe that yes, there is a provider role men can take where, there are certain things men should do. If they are capable, that men should provide more of a financial role, slightly, if they can, if it fits the relationship, and that women do have slightly more of a responsibility in the homemaking department. Now, if she's doing all the laundry, see, we're not hearing this part of the relationship yet, but we're only 3 minutes into the 8-minute video. She's doing all the laundry, all the dishes, all the cooking. Hey, maybe. But when you start the video off saying, "Hey, I make 6 figures, I'm a business owner," something tells me she doesn't have quite that much time, but we'll see.
This means that you have a
We might
mentality
see, I
that
don't
you
know.
should provide and take care of women as a man.
People think that Hannah's like manipulating me or that I'm just some young dude with money and she's taking advantage of me.
I just feel like men and women have different roles and different strengths, and we should play into those instead of trying to suppress them. A man should always try to provide and protect within his means for a woman, and the woman should bring the soft, nurturing side into a relationship.
So she
It's
kind
not
of agreed.
like, oh,
But
I'm
no, wait a
physically
minute.
incapable.
No, wait a minute. So she started off by saying almost what I said, but then she said soft, nurturing side. Well, what do you do that's soft and nurturing? So far, we've only heard that you're a business owner and that you try to look pretty for your man. That's not necessarily the soft, nurturing side. There's a whole homemaking responsibility that comes along with that. If you're talking about traditional relationships, there are quite literal chores and labor that are involved with that.
Doing those things. That being said, I will relatively, for the most part, refuse to do housework.
Okay, here we go.
So one of my favorite things that I know Ed really appreciates is when I help him relax and de-stress. When he's really stressed, I'll just offer to do some gua sha on his face because he loves it. And then I'll
Some
be
what?
like, come on, baby, it's gua sha time.
Gua sha? What the fuck is gua?
All right. I've always been super high stress, so having someone who can like take
What
care of me
the
in that
fuck?
way and like help me feel relaxed is really helpful.
I mean, this makes more sense to me now. At least she does she's right.
Today
She
we're
does
gonna
the
go
soft-
for a fancy
does the-
lunch, and I never have to worry about who pays because Ed always wants to.
Okay, but you're picking restaurants with linens and
Man
shit.
should try to pay when he can, whether that's for bills or whether that's just taking the girl out to dinner. There should always be the effort that he tries
I
to
don't
provide.
disagree with this yet.
I agree.
I feel like on a first date, if a guy doesn't pay, then it's almost like a lack of interest. I don't believe in 50-50 relationships. I believe in like 100-100, where each person contributes different things.
Okay, but again, so then the question's going to become, when it is time for you folks to marry, is this going to come out of his wallet or yours?
So if a guy tries to split the bill, then it just shows that he doesn't have the same philosophy as me when it comes to relationships.
Okay, well, sure. Or it could just be that we've been beaten down by society into not assuming, so we at least ask first, right?
My value to the relationship is a lot of more providing and protecting, whereas Hannah is more nurturing and supporting.
Okay, but he says providing, protecting. Well, if they were attacked by a gang of street thugs, I mean, you are a Canadian in London. What do you... Demon's Wrath. Her philosophy is you buy now. Yeah.
This is your video. Who's going to play today?
Me.
Guarantee the producer told the server to ask that question. I've never in my life had a server ask who's going to pay. They usually leave either they leave the bill in front of me or they leave it halfway between us and walk away and come back and get the card. Now, I don't know if it's different in London, but I have never been asked who's gonna pay.
I'm just getting the house ready to have Jenny come over, who's a friend of mine. She had some reservations about my relationship in the
Okay, now let's see if we could judge Jenny. She does look a lot like Veronica Salt. I don't know what a Veronica Salt is.
past. She's a huge believer in the man and woman going 50-50 because she says that women can make money and you should never be financially dependent on a man.
I'm Jenny, and I've been friends with Hannah for the past 7 months. I had reservations because I'm not used to see such a young couple.
Yeah, well, you're not used to
have
being
this
pretty
dynamic
either.
where
Not
he would
that
just
she
provide
is,
for
but
her, and I just didn't know how would that work in the long run.
When I met you and you explained your dynamic, I was kind of like, if he is providing everything to her, what sort of power does she have in the relationship? Were you scared you losing yourself?
I think that really depends on the way you look at it because there's a difference between a woman choosing to let her man make decisions and lead so that she can relax versus a woman who is fully obedient towards a man.
So I was under the impression that you were super like supportive of our relationship and our dynamic. So were you not in agreement with our relationship?
To be honest, I was disagreeing with it because it's not normal that a 22-year-old would just do this for his girlfriend. Because like if it's your wife or your fiance, like I can understand that. But like for someone that you haven't known for that long, and all of a sudden it's like from 0 to 100, I'm like, is he taking her power?
What did you have to see in our relationship?
So much to unpack. Now she's got a point about the wife thing, because yeah, I keep bringing up, well, what happens when you get married? Then it's communal property, and then what about her wealth? Does she just get to keep accumulating it endlessly, or does she have to contribute some to the household?
Relationship that made you go, oh.
And yes, I agree with Demon's Wrath here. The friend also seems a little gold diggery on her own, right? Because she's like, well, what are you bringing to the table that you have to pay so much to make up for? Like that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Yeah, she uttered nonsense as if it was something profound. Well, I think part of it's she's also Asian background. Both of these women have this Asian background and probably don't speak English very well. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. But to me, she got part of a point across, and that is, you're 22 years old. Why are you paying this old woman to date you?
Actually, like, this is real.
I think what made me kind of like switch to the good side is to
Switch
see
to the
that
good side.
she was more on her feminine energy and she was trusting kind of like your lead. Oh babe, thanks so much for having me. Of course, I'll see you soon.
See you next time. Thanks for coming over. The conversation with Jenny went pretty good. I was really surprised to hear that she wasn't fully on board with.
Yeah, Jen probably has to trick guys into dating her with fishy fucking Instagram poses on her dating websites and stuff.
Our relationship from the start, but I'm glad that she was able to see what our relationship is really like and see that it's actually out of love, not out of trying to have leverage.
You have to think about your future. There is no shame in having financial standards for a man. It doesn't
Okay, but
mean
you're not
a
thinking
gold
about the
digger. It
future.
just means that you're a responsible woman with standards.
Yeah, she's had a lot of surgery. I want to go back to that real quick. Yeah, she's had a hell of a lot of surgery. All right, folks. If you could take just a moment and click that thumbs up button. That like button definitely keeps me rolling. Click that like button. And I say that with a woman's ass on the screen. Click the like button. Yeah, like the show. If you're new here, please subscribe, follow, whatever. Get the notifications turned on so that you know whether or not I'm going to be online. With my recent changes in my streaming schedule, I realize it's not working out as well as I'd like. So I might bring back the Wednesday show. Still unsure as of yet. I did like the flow of today's show. Today seemed to have went pretty well. There were a few hiccups, but less than last week. And definitely it helped having Sanglant and Demon's Wrath in the chat. Cheers to Sanglant and Demon's Wrath. And if anyone else is watching, like I said, follow me on the social media platforms below. Hit that like and subscribe and come on in the chat next time on Mild's Culture Plate. Having people in the chat communicating with me, telling me what they like, telling me what their opinions are, definitely helps to have something to bounce off of, having something to get a little deeper than my surface thoughts to give to you folks. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to go live this Wednesday. I doubt it at this point. So be looking for me this time next Saturday, 5 p.m. Central. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until next time, folks, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Outlast those haters. Don't get any on you. And if you do, rub that shit in real good. Y'all have a wonderful weekend and keep enjoying that holiday season. Oh, sorry, I had to cough again. Keep enjoying that holiday season, folks. Take care, everybody. Good night.